All right, here we go. Pass the rock on a Monday afternoon. We have count them, two Monday Night Football games tonight, which we're all really excited about, and only four baseball games because for some reason they said we'll never get the ratings. This is Pass the Rock.
Hey yo, could one of y'all pass the gosh darn rock? Hey yo, I'm trying, I ain't lying, and hosting this will be Brian. Yeah. Posting like Kobe Bryant, yeah. Flying to see the pie. Yeah. Hit the hezzy, we got Jesse, opinions get kinda messy. A fan of out of Letty's, from football to racing jetties. He goes silly when he go deep, sheesh, is Zach Zeman. Teaming up with Jack, we stack the whole team, man. Pass the rock, don't stop the shot clock. Woo. Smack the slap shot, come on, now let's talk. Pass the, yo partner, pass the rock, for real.
Zach, just talking about how long we've been doing this, that last picture of you on the intro looks like you're 12.
Yeah, I practically was. That was my freshman year. So that would be 3 years ago that video clip was taken and put in our intro. I guess we haven't changed it in 3 years. No one bothered to update it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right. It ain't broke. I never said it was broke. I just think it's funny looking at me with nothing on the face.
Well, I mean, also the day that Zach and I cracked the intro video was absolutely legendary. To be fair. It took how many years of us doing this before we cracked the intro?
That's true. Well,
at least 1 year. It took at least 1 year for us like make our first appearance, then actually make it on the intro.
Was there a intro before that or no?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was
okay. I didn't remember a Jesse and I only intro.
Yeah, it was hit the hezzy, we got Jesse, blah blah blah, and then it just went into the Pass the Rock. Then we had Spencer add the second verse, or at least the second half of the verse to incorporate Zach and Jack. So
cool, awesome.
And
welcome,
honestly,
guys.
If we kept this going another week, Jet would have made the intro eventually, but
I doubt it. Maybe David, but David's in the intro, just unnamed, uncredited.
Yeah.
So. All good. All right. 2 Monday Night Football games tonight. We got Jaguars at Bills and then Commanders at Bengals. Jack, which one are you looking forward to more?
I'm actually looking forward to Jags Bills. I think that's going to be a good game. I think the Jaguars are at a very critical juncture in their season where they got to start winning, and they got to start winning now. They just paid Trevor Lawrence a massive contract. They had expectations going into the season. Even if maybe we didn't have expectations for the Jaguars, they certainly had expectations for themselves. So I think they actually come in and play this game with a fire. I think it's going to be a competitive game. The Bills have looked good, but I think the Jags give them a run for their money tonight.
Awesome. So you like the underdog jumping up, at least making it a game.
Oh, for sure. I think it's at least competitive.
All right, Zach, which one are you watching first?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be tuned into Commanders Bengals tonight. I'm actually looking forward to that game a little bit more for a couple of reasons. First of all, like Jack mentioned, the Jaguars this is a critical point in their season, but this is a Jaguars team that I'm not super impressed by yet. I'm not really looking forward to watching them get demolished by the Buffalo Bills tonight. Whereas with the Commanders and the Bengals, I think it's going to be a much more competitive game. We have the LSU rematch. I know you're looking forward to that with Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow. If the Bengals can figure it out, this will be a really good time for them to figure it out at home. The Commanders, if they win this game, they will stay at the top of the NFC East, which is something that I don't think many of us expected, even just 3 weeks into the season. I feel like there's still some very substantial stakes to this game, even though it's out of conference. It's just two teams you wouldn't really expect to have a good game. I'm excited for this one. I'm excited for Commanders Bengals.
Okay, Jesse, break the tie.
I think it has to be Bills Jags. I think tonight we see if the Jaguars really have any actual merit to them. If they just kind of lay down in like a 31-14 victory for the Bills, I think that it's time to start asking some serious questions about Doug Peterson's job, about what's good with Trevor Lawrence and the rest of the offense, with the playmakers they currently have. Everybody's healthy aside from Evan Ingram, so there's not really an excuse on that front. So I think we're going to get some answers tonight on the Jaguars. They have not won a game. I saw someone on TikTok yesterday say, think of when you're sitting at your Thanksgiving table with your family, eating some good turkey, having some good times. That was the last time Trevor Lawrence won a football game, was last Thanksgiving. It's been that long. And we're in almost October. So they have not won a game with him at quarterback in almost a year, which is insane considering how they were like 8-3 last year and then just fell off a cliff. So I'm excited to watch that game because if the Jags have some heart, this is like some good news for them, I guess. And if not, then I think it's time to start asking some serious questions.
Well, what's funny too is if they lose tonight, then they have at Houston next week, then home for the Colts, then they go for their 2 weeks in London against the Bears and Patriots. So I don't think he'll quite get to a whole calendar year. Yeah, exactly.
2 weeks in London with their real fan base might be what's best for them.
Their real fan base. Yeah. People wearing random Chiefs and Bears jerseys and whatever else. Yeah, I feel like I should be more excited about Bills Jags. Obviously, 2 LSU Heisman winning quarterbacks is going to be awesome to watch in the second game. And Bill Simmons keeps telling me that the Jaguars are going to jump up and surprise people tonight. But
I mean, the Texans didn't exactly look like they were made of fire yesterday. I mean,
not at all.
That division is honestly, the Colts have looked really bad. The Texans have not started super strong, and the Titans are the worst team in the NFL right now, probably. But it's really any direction they could go.
The Titans definitely have a claim to that after the Giants and Panthers won yesterday. So
yeah. Apparently, Andy Dalton makes the Panthers playoff contenders now. So sure.
Well, glad the Saints are better than the Ravens because the Panthers beat the Raiders and the Raiders beat the Ravens. So
that checks out. All that
does that make the Chargers the best team in the league? No, it makes the Steelers because the Steelers beat the Chargers. There you go.
Right. Well, when you don't lose, you're always going to win that. That association. All right. Speaking of the Ravens, what is your panic meter on the Dallas Cowboys after 3 weeks? I'll start with resident Dallas fan Zach.
I feel like if yesterday ended up being the blowout we all thought it was, the panic meter would be very high. But Dallas did put up a solid comeback effort. The NFL held them to only 2 onside kicks. That's a new rule this year, which kind of shot themselves in the foot with that, unfortunately. I'm going to say the panic meter for Dallas is somewhere around a 6. You have your flaws. The defense hasn't looked as good as it was. The offense was struggling for most of that game, but they woke up late in the game. You saw some glimmers of hope yesterday, but not enough to make you feel super confident going forward. But this is a team that has a lot of talent. They should be better than they are. They should be at the bare minimum 2-1. Like, I don't know what's going on in Dallas, but they have just not gotten it together. But thankfully, unfortunately, it's still early in the season for Dallas. They still have time to turn around. I'm going to say a 6. Shouldn't be higher than that. And even though they aren't them boys, they are not them boys. So,
yeah. Well, Dak said if you're not on the bus, get off the bus now. Because he doesn't want.
It sounds like Dak is panicking a lot more than he should, honestly.
Yeah, that defense looks pretty bad. I didn't realize there was a 2 onside kick.
Yeah, it's limit. With all the changes to the onside kick in the offseason, they also set a limit to how many times you can do it a game. So now you can only do it 2 times a game instead of being able to do it a 3rd time, which Dallas needed yesterday to complete the comeback, which they were not able to. Part of that, though, was the fact that they couldn't get another onside kickoff. So you already have to tell the other team that you're doing it, and you can only do it twice now.
And you can only do it in the 4th quarter.
I think so. Like you only do it.
Yeah, no. I'm saying that is a rule. Yeah.
Oh, great. So it's just completely useless.
All right, Jesse, Cowboys panic meter.
First off, want to give a shout out to the Colo in the chat for 12 months in a row with their sub. Shout out to the Colo. I'm at an 8 for panic meter on the Cowboys right now for 2 reasons. One, the Cowgirls cannot stop the run. They are made of Swiss cheese. Derrick Henry has a new poster stiff arm to go everywhere. I'm not sure which DB it was specifically, but he took his helmet and shoved it into the dirt, and then on the next run broke it off for a touchdown. Derrick Henry looked like he was in his prime yesterday, and this is supposed to be a defensive line with Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, some real heavy hitters there. So there's 2 main issues for the Cowboys. 1, they can't stop the run, and 2, they can't run. They cannot run the ball, and they cannot stop the run. Those are probably the 2 biggest problems you can have as a football team. The Cowboys are currently bottom 4 in rushing yards in the NFL with 200 through 3 games. They're averaging 3.6 yards a carry. Zeke looks like the worst offseason signing they could have made. Rico Dowdle does not look bad, but is behind Zeke, so it's just not really working. They have no run game. It's closing up the pass game. I think the biggest problem for the Cowboys is the offense looked the best when CeeDee was off the field yesterday. I don't know what the hell happened in like the fourth quarter. CeeDee was on the sideline for a lot of it, and the Cowboys looked great without him, which is a big problem considering you just gave him $35 million a year. So I think everything is probably going wrong that could for them, except that most of them are healthy. Like everyone's healthy. It's just a horribly comprised team.
Yeah. Well, and you talk about wide receiver extensions. Throw Brandon Ayuk on that list because he has been non-existent this year after getting paid. All right, to you, Jack. Cowboys panic meter.
Yeah, look, I think you have to be you have to feel a little bit reassured with the fight they showed at the end of the game yesterday. I would say that is the one positive to take away from the start of this Cowboys season. And Dak Prescott, I thought, played relatively well down the stretch yesterday. So that should also you should feel better about that contract. But what Jesse said, I think, is the biggest truth that you can say about the Cowboys right now is that they can't run the football. They have no run game. They don't have any running backs, which is a big problem in today's NFL. And they also can't stop the run. I mean, last week we built a anytime touchdown parlay. I took Derrick Henry because he was playing the Cowboys, and I think he played better than I ever could have imagined in that game yesterday. So, and it's not just going to be Derrick Henry. I mean, you're going to see guys just absolutely shred this Cowboys run defense. They can't stop the run. It is a serious problem for them, and it's not something that's just going to get fixed overnight. So I would say if I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm at like an 8 right now. Even though you have to feel good about the way that they closed out the game yesterday as far as the team's spirit and their ability to not just take punches and then lie flat, that to actually fight back. But my God, the run defense and the run game are serious, serious problems that aren't just going to get fixed overnight.
I want to throw some stats at you from the game, by the way. So Justice Hill, Lamar, and Derrick Henry all averaged over 6 yards a carry yesterday. They had 274 rushing yards to Dallas's 51, which is unreal. Like, to outgain them by 223 yards on the ground, not to mention 3 touchdowns on the ground as well for the Ravens. Just insane.
And let's just say this, whatever your vote for panic meter score is, if they lose to the Giants on Thursday night, it goes up to a 12. So
absolutely.
There's no more meter. The meter is shattered.
Right. You're done.
The meter
You're
breaks.
done at that point.
The meter breaks.
Also, for any of you fantasy heads out there, CeeDee Lamb had yesterday, he had a worse game than he did in the entire season last year. Wow. It was his lowest scoring game.
And they scored 30-something points.
25, but yeah.
Or 25, sorry. All right. A couple of impressive wins yesterday. The Rams come back over the 49ers. The Eagles go down to New Orleans and win in a tough place to win, especially the Saints being 2-0. And then the Broncos somehow just shut down the Bucs. Which was the most impressive, Jesse?
Oh, it's 100% the Broncos. If you play NFL Survivor, there was 30% of people had picked the Buccaneers to win, coming off a game where they defeated the Detroit Lions, who, a lot of people say could be the best team in the NFC, Super Bowl favorite, NFC champion favorite, along with the other teams up there. And the Broncos had zero business winning, let alone nearly blowing out the Buccaneers by 19 points, holding Mike. A lot of people said in fantasy, bench whoever is going against Patrick Surtain. Do it. Mike Evans just had 2 catches for 17 yards. Chris Godwin was the only bright spot the entire day. They just made Tampa's run game absolutely non-existent as well. And Bo Nix did what he had to do to win. And it's really impressive considering the Broncos' slow start so far. They've looked pretty awful. And the fact that they were able to just completely shut down the Bucs, especially a very explosive offense we've seen through the first 2 weeks, is nothing to scoff at. Holding them to 7 is just as, if not more impressive than Minnesota holding Houston to 7. So that was really, really.
I'm also out of the 2-strike NFL Survivor that Lost Tribe is doing, and I also picked the Bucs yesterday. So, Jack, over to you. More impressive win: Rams, Broncos, or Eagles?
Yeah, I think the Broncos are a great pick. I was so impressed with Bo Nix yesterday, especially since the first couple of games were not pretty for him, and he was getting a lot of hate. And I will say the way that he was able to bounce back was unbelievably impressive in yesterday's win. But my pick is going to be the Rams. Oh, my God. How did the Rams win that game? They no Puka Nacua, no Cooper Kupp. This offense it's basically a 36-year-old Matt Stafford with a mediocre O-line, no receivers, and just spamming Kyren Williams. It's the only way that they can move the ball on this offense. And somehow that was good enough to beat the 49ers of all teams in a game where they were down. This offense had to play a high level of football to come back and win this game. I was just honestly so impressed. Sean McVay masterclass. Like people don't give Sean McVay enough credit for how unbelievable of a coach he is. Like I don't know how he gets this team, no matter who's injured, no matter who's on the field, to play at such a high level week in and week out. You can never count out the Rams. You really can't, because the way that this team is coached and the talent that Matthew Stafford still has at 36 years old, it's pretty unbelievable. And I think a lot of people were out on the Rams too quickly this year after an 0-2 start. This game proves you can't count out the Rams as long as Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford are in charge.
Yeah, it was kind of an unbelievable comeback and kind of a Madden playbook. You're like, until you stop Kyren Williams, just going to keep going to him or keep running him.
By the way, the Rams' longest run of the entire season has been 13 yards.
Yeah, right. It's not even like I can't even tell you what they're doing that's that impressive. It's just working. Like I don't know. Stafford is unbelievable. Kyren is great in the red zone. He's got a nose for the end zone. That's for sure. Great for your fantasy team. But yeah, I couldn't even tell you. But somehow this offense moved the football against a great Niners defense and came back in a game they were down.
Yeah, and Brock Purdy, if Juwan Jennings wasn't open, they didn't do anything. And they finally were like, oh, what if we just guard Juwan Jennings?
Also, why the hell is he a wide receiver 3 still? Like, it's absurd that a guy that talented is that buried on a depth chart. Yeah. And why the hell is he not getting?
And not only that, they drafted Ricky Pearsall to bump him down even more.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm not going to say that he was the one that could have shot Ricky Pearsall.
Oh, God.
Well, there you said it.
All right. Zach, save me.
Yeah. I know, we already have a Rams and a Broncos selection, so you would expect me to hype up my Eagles, but Nick Sirianni might be the worst game manager that I've ever seen in my entire life. The Eagles, with how dominant they were on offense, there's maybe one or two bad decisions by a player on the field, but the decisions by Nick Sirianni managing that game cost the Eagles arguably 20 points. It was absolutely ridiculous, some of the calls he was making. Don't know why you're kicking a field goal at the 60-yard line when you refuse to kick a field goal anytime sooner. But the defense was absolutely impressive. That was a statement by the defense. The defense was absolutely fantastic, shutting down the Saints, who I thought were going to have a very easy time against that Eagles defense, especially the secondary. No, you had some standout performances, Jalen Carter, Zach Bond, and Quinton Mitchell all impressed. But for the all-around win, I'm giving it to the Rams as well for everything that Jack said. Super impressive win to me. Big statement for the Rams. Even though they're down a lot of players, even though they're down their playmakers, they're still going to be in the running for a playoff spot. They looked much better than I ever thought they would without their two top receivers. So credit to the Rams. That has to be the most impressive win of the weekend.
Yeah, I was at that Eagles-Saints game. I'll say I met several Eagles fans, and they all impressed me with how human they were. I mean, the people I've met in the past, not so much. But no, we were in cohorts together, just loving the terrible coaching that was going on. Ugh. Dennis Allen going for it on 4th and 1 from our own 20. I don't know why we don't kick the field goal there. Our defense had stopped you all day, stopped the Eagles all day, I should say. And just that, what a depressing day that was.
Bizarre game. Very bizarre game for most of it. I say very bizarre first half. Very bizarre first half.
Yeah, 3-0 at halftime. Crazy. Yep. All right, let's do a little true or false. We like that. I used to be a teacher, so I could administer this test. True or false? The Bears will ruin Caleb Williams. He has been sacked 11 times in the last 2 weeks. Starting with you, Zach.
Yeah, I'm going to say true, because that sack total, we're talking about David Carr pace at this point. I mean, Caleb Williams did show some pretty good talent yesterday. He threw for over 250 yards. He threw 2 touchdowns. Yes, he threw 2 interceptions, but he's a rookie. I can't blame him too much for any interception he throws. But that offensive line is dreadful. It is killing him. 11 sacks in the last 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure David Carr set the record at like 41 sacks taken. We're on that pace. We're well beyond that pace. Right now, Caleb Williams could take 100 sacks this season with the pace that the Bears' offensive line is on. I'm genuinely worried for Caleb Williams, not because of his talent, not because of the weapons he has, but because of that offensive line. Because if he gets hit more, let's just be generous. If he gets hit 50 times this year, he's not going to be the same player next year. There's no way. So I'm going to say, yeah, the Bears are ruining him. And you need to develop that O-line. You need to build that O-line and get pieces to protect Caleb. Because right now, it is not working.
All right, Jack, true or false? Bears will ruin Caleb Williams.
I feel like I'm having deja vu because if about a year ago today you asked me the same question about Bryce Young, I would have been all gung-ho defending Bryce Young. Like, he is too good. He's unruinable. And I've been proven incorrect on that point. Bryce Young is ruinable because the Panthers pulled it off. They found a way to ruin him. Now I look at Caleb Williams, and this is a similar franchise in the sense that every time that they've had a quarterback with any sort of potential, they have ruined that guy. They did ruin Justin Fields, and they did ruin, I don't know if I could say Nick Trubisky had potential, but they did pick him 2nd overall. So it is kind of hard to put your faith in an organization that has shown time and time again they can't develop a quarterback even though they have all the talent in the world. The only problem is Caleb Williams is special. And I'm going to come to his defense once again. I think he is a truly unruinable quarterback. I think he has too much talent that even with a weak Bears offensive line, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, that is a stacked group of weapons. As long as he can learn to get the ball out quicker and get the ball to them, he will be fine through his rookie year. And the Bears know they have to work on their offensive line. So that will be something that will be improved in the offseason. I'm not out on Caleb. I think I could see the Bears being the Bears, of course, but I'm going to come to Caleb's defense. I think he will be okay.
Well, maybe instead of spending all that draft capital and free agency money on weapons they didn't need, they should have protected the quarterback. We had our Packers interview 2 weeks ago say how he thought it was stupid that the Bears went out and got DeAndre Swift when they didn't need a 4th running back, or Keenan Allen when they were going to draft Rome Odunze anyway. Like, I'm starting to see that these points are good points. Like, I don't know why. I mean, Keenan Allen has barely even played this season. I think he's missed the last 2 weeks. And I think week 1, he barely played. And what's that got for them? DeAndre Swift, I don't think has topped 40 yards in the first 3 weeks. And they're using Khalil Herbert on the goal line. They're using Roschon Johnson more. I mean, it made no sense to me why they even got DeAndre Swift in the first place. But, I mean, Caleb Williams right now is on pace to be the most sacked quarterback ever if it continues like this. Bryce Young, by the way, last year was the 5th most sacked quarterback ever. So it could be bad. I mean, 5 sacks a week. It doesn't help that Caleb is like a very scrambler guy that likes to extend plays and has taken a few sacks that probably didn't need to be sacks. But there's also times where he just doesn't even have a chance at the play at all, or he's running away from a sack and then he throws a stupid pick instead of taking the sack. So overall, the Bears have done nothing to help him so far. It definitely doesn't help that Keenan Allen has missed pretty much all 3 of the first weeks and that the run game just looks horrible. But I mean, it kind of what happens when you go and get a bunch of weapons instead of building the O-line first. I mean, the Bears in another dimension kept Justin Fields and somehow drafted Marvin Harrison and Joe Alt and then are like super good this season with Justin Fields. So who knows? But right now, I think the Bears are very much ruining Caleb, and Ryan Poles needs to do some more whiz masterclass stuff to get somebody to help that O-line right now.
Yeah, I mean, Eberflus will be gone if this is a disaster like it has started to be, and they have to find some offensive line talent. But also, I want to challenge Caleb Williams and challenge Bryce Young. You know, you're supposed to be the best player to come out of college for the team that's drafting at that moment. And I want to see a little more from Caleb. I want him to step up and, be a leader, do whatever he's got to do to, I get that he doesn't have a lot of time. I'm not like arguing with that point at all, but he was supposed to be the next coming of Patrick Mahomes. So let's see a little action, and
Patrick
yesterday was
Mahomes
his
also
best
sat for a
game.
year.
What's that?
Patrick Mahomes also sat for a year.
Right. Agreed. And he wasn't a top overall pick either. So, but I'd like to see, I have not witnessed the Caleb Williams that Jack is so excited about. I didn't see it a lot last year. I know the previous year at USC was better. I would like to see a little bit of that because I think the guy could be special, but I haven't really seen like where he takes it to the next level. I know I haven't seen it out of Bryce Young. So we'll have to see. Jack, I'll let you go first since you're itching to talk. True or false? Sam Darnold is the front runner for the NFL's MVP.
Wow. I mean, yeah, that is a crazy jump to make, but through 3 weeks, I mean, if we're only looking at this sample size, I think you have to say true. He has been unbelievable. Like the guy, he keeps winning. He's the best thing that Sam Darnold is doing that he has not done at any other stage of his career is he is protecting the football. This guy is not turning the ball over. He's making smart throws. He's not being over aggressive, although he has made a few big plays here and there. Of course, the big highlight being that 97-yard Jefferson touchdown last week. But I just think Sam Darnold has taken the step that we've all been looking for him to take for his entire career. He's always had the talent. He was a 3rd overall pick for a reason. But this season, he's limiting his turnovers. He's making smart throws. And I really think that if this level of play can continue for the rest of the season, he is going to have to be in the conversation, absolutely, because these first 3 games, he has played better than just about anyone else in the league.
All right. So I'll go to you, Zach. I want a true or false. Sam Darnold's the front runner for MVP. And if your answer is false, why isn't it Andy Dalton?
I'm going to go with false. And this also I have the same answer for Andy Dalton. Big media is not going to let Sam Darnold or Andy Dalton win MVP no matter how good they play. They'll just default and give it to Mahomes. I really don't like. I love seeing Sam Darnold being good. I love that he's succeeding in Minnesota. They look a lot better than I think anyone thought they would look. Andy Dalton right now definitely has his name in the running. We need to see more from him to get him really up there into the top 3. But you still have your Mahomes. You're going to have other quarterbacks get back to their standards. Well, you still have your Josh Allen. Like, there's still elite quarterbacks that big media is going to prefer giving it to, the household names, instead of Sam Darnold. So I'm just going to say, big media, they're out to get them. It's a witch hunt.
Andy Dalton, 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, only one
He looks
quarterback
phenomenal, but
this year
big media is going to say Kansas City's the most dominant team, even though they've won all their games with like 1 score and every game's been close. Kansas City's dominant. Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the NFL. They're going to say that. Big media is out to get these quarterbacks. They are out to get them.
They are not dominant, but he is the best quarterback in the NFL. Sorry. 3 touchdowns. 3 championships get you that. All right. Jesse, to you. Sam Darnold.
I want to flip this on its head and say, I want to ask to the group, to the chat, how good of a season would Sam Darnold have to actually win MVP? Because right now, despite how well he's played, he's 12th on the odds behind Goff, Dak, Purdy, Burrow, Rodgers, Stroud, Lamar, like all those guys. He's still behind all of them. So like realistically, how actually truly good of a season would he need to genuinely jump Mahomes out? Like assuming they all just have like their typical 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, whatever, nothing crazy. What do we expect from Sam Darnold to actually win an MVP award?
Well, the Vikings would have to be the 1 seed, I think, in the NFC.
Yeah.
And then he'd have to be one of the reasons, if not the reason. So, 3 championships this season would be rough.
I would say,
look, at least Offie's paying attention. He's listening.
I'm going to argue 14 to 15 wins, which would definitely get them the 1 seed. And Sam Darnold, Sam Darnold throws the ball every single play on offense and completes it to every receiver. I need him to have at least a 70% completion rate just so that big media can't deny him his MVP.
He can have less than 15 wins and still get the MVP.
I think
Wow.
to me, the Vikings must be number one in the North. They don't have to be number one in the whole conference, but I think if they're number one in the North, let's say 13-4, he throws 4,500 yards, maybe closer to 5,000, and like 40 touchdowns, less than 10 interceptions.
Okay, I don't know that his numbers individually would have to be that crazy. I think the Vikings have to win the North, and I think and it can't be like a.
He's not getting the Lamar Jackson treatment.
No, it
He's
can't
not
be like
getting
a
an
9-8
MVP
win.
with
It has to
3,000
be.
yards.
It has to be like at least like 12 wins, and the Vikings win the North. And if that's the case, I think all he would need to do is have like the standard 4,000 yards, 30 plus touchdowns, 10 or fewer interceptions. Like, if he does that, I think he could win it if the Vikings are a good enough team. And the way that they're playing right now, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Well, considering he's never topped 3,000 yards or 20 touchdowns, 4 and 40 would be pretty awesome for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that means Justin
I don't know
Jefferson's
about
the best player in fantasy if that happens with 40 touchdowns.
Justin Jefferson might be the best player in
Or
fantasy.
Jalen Naylor goes absolutely crazy.
Yeah, you never know.
But I'm just saying, there was a second part of this question as well of whether or not true or false if the Vikings are actually legit or not for the rest of the season. As of right now, I see no reason to think why this would be a fluke. In terms of like, I look at Pittsburgh being 3-0, and I'm like, well, who have they beat? And look at the games. They just beat the Vikings. Just arguably beat a top 3 team in either conference, like with the Niners and the Texans, based on however some people might rank it. Convincingly in both games, they were up all game on the Niners last week, and they were up the entire game against the Texans. So I'm very interested to see where this goes. And honestly, I would think that they are legit, mainly because the oldest saying in sports, defense wins championships. And Brian Flores' defense looks unreal right now. And it's even crazier that the Vikings are doing this well, considering how many injuries they have on that team. And in the back half of this season, like if they're like 7-2 going into the back half of the season, and then they start to get Jordan Addison's fully healthy, TJ Hawkinson starts to come around, the offense gets even more help, some of the defensive players get fully healthy again, like look out. Like this could be a real problem in November.
Well, the second quarter of their season will tell how good they are, because they have at the Packers, which we'll see if Jordan Love is back, home to the Jets, home to the Lions, at the Rams. So I think that's a good next 4 weeks. Let's see where they are. Rams will probably have at least one of those wide receivers back 4 weeks from now. Granted, that'll be a Vikings home game in LA, but still, you gotta go. You still have to go on the road. It's not like sleeping in your own bed. So, if they're 6-2 at that juncture, they got a chance. They got a chance for this to work out in their favor.
But the Vikings are also known to start like 5-1 and finish 8-9. So
Yep.
No.
Yep. All right, let's do one more true or false. The Packers. Let me do that over. The Packers are the NFC favorites. I have a very strong feeling about this, but I'll go to you first, Jack.
Yeah, I don't hate this. I don't hate this because the way that they've looked with Malik Willis, of all people, quarterbacking this team has been really impressive. And it starts with the defense. The way their defense has played, new defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley is miles better than they looked last year. And that's a huge part of this. Their receivers look like they're much better. Josh Jacobs looks like a great fit for them. That seems like it was a very good move this offseason. And Jordan Love is going to be back next week, it looks like, against, I believe, Minnesota. So that should actually be a really crazy game. So if you put Jordan Love back on this team that has won 2 games with Malik Willis, of all people, starting at quarterback, it's not crazy to say that the Packers are maybe not the favorites in the NFC, but they are a real team to be taken seriously. I think the sky is the limit. I mean, the level of upgrade from Malik Willis to Jordan Love can't be understated. Like that is It's not even the same ballpark. It's not even close. I think the Packers could be really, really great once they get Love back in there.
All right, Jesse.
Okay, so I do think that currently they actually look the best out of, I think, a lot of the like the Lions had a shaky week last week, righted the ship a little this week, but still not fully convinced. The Niners are now coming off back-to-back losses. The Eagles, bad loss last week, good win this week. So it's kind of up in the air. I do think that the Packers have won games that, like, I mean, they beat the Colts and then they beat the Titans. Like, they were supposed to win both of those games. Now, with Malik Willis, it is more impressive that they still ended up winning both of those games. But I do think that this is a really good team. I picked them to win the North. I do think that with Love and with the way the defense is played and with the improved run game, that they have every recipe for success. However, I personally would not rush Jordan Love back next week because you won the 2 games that he's sat out so far. It's kind of a blessing that they're 2-1 right now. And they're facing the Vikings this upcoming Sunday. And what are the Vikings going to do? They're going to really see if he can move. The Steelers did the same thing to Justin Herbert. He had an ankle injury. J.J. Watt was talking before the game. He said, if I'm the Steelers, we're sending everything we have at Justin Herbert to really see just how good his ankle is. And if it's the same thing with Jordan Love, you can bet your ass that Brian Flores is going to send a blitz damn near every play to really see how he can move and if he gets hit, if he's getting back up. So I think the next week they play the Rams and then the Cardinals, and then it lightens up a little. Actually, it doesn't. They play the Texans, Jaguars, Lions. But I would not necessarily rush him back. It was a 3 to 6 week injury. This will be the 3rd week. I don't know if I would necessarily rush him back against a very hot Vikings defense that's going to send a lot of heat at him, considering that they won both of those games. If they were 1-2 or 0-3, I would definitely want to get him back. But they have at least 1 week that they can say, you know what, even if we lose or somehow win, even if we lose, we'll be 2-2 coming out of that injury. I think that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, the Vikings have allowed 30 points total, 10 a game. Best in the NFC. There's a couple in the 40s range, but they've been impressive. I wouldn't rush them back either. Zach, your take. Are the Packers the NFC favorites?
I feel like it's hard to really call anyone a favorite 3 weeks in. I think this upcoming slate of games for the best teams in the NFC, we're going to learn a lot. The Eagles going to Tampa, where they lost last year in the playoffs. Can they overcome that? Can they keep this momentum from a tough win? Saints, Falcons, 2 teams that I think can very well be NFC contenders going against each other. Huge rivalry game. I think that'll answer a lot of questions. We already mentioned Vikings, Packers. That's huge for both sides of the ball. The Packers defense looked really good. Can they keep it up against a very hot Vikings offense? I'm really excited for that. And then I think the one that I'm actually looking forward to the most to figuring out about these teams, undefeated Seahawks going to Detroit on Monday night next week. We have to see if the Seattle team is actually legit. I have my doubts only because they just beat a Dolphins team that has lost all confidence, and they blew them out. And, that's kind of expected. The Dolphins lost Tua. They're definitely down on themselves. And their first 2-week victories, they won by a combined 9 points against, what was it, the Patriots and the Panthers, I think? 3-0.
Broncos.
The Broncos and Patriots, 2 teams who we can all agree are a bottom half team in the league. This upcoming week will tell us if the Seahawks are legit contenders. I think the Lions will handle them, but we will see what happens. So I feel like there's just a lot of questions to be answered. And the Packers are included in that. I don't think they should rush Jordan Love back. There's no reason to risk him against a really tough Vikings defense that will be out to try to get some big hits on this team. I think they're definitely in the running. I don't think there's a clear favorite right now. I feel like we learned about teams that aren't in the running to be a favorite more than we know what teams are the favorites now. So, for instance, I got a couple doubts about the Niners right now. The Cowboys are clearly not in this conversation anymore. So we're learning things about who is out of that running, not exactly who is going to be a mainstay throughout the season. So I guess my take is it's too early to tell, but they're in that conversation.
Yeah, when I first read this, I was like, absolutely not. What the hell are we talking about? Then I started looking. I was like, Everybody's kind of gross in the NFC right now. The 49ers, Eagles, Lions are the
honestly, in
three.
the entire NFL, there's not really one team that's like really good that's looked really good. It's like all the teams that are 3-0 are like,
excuse me.
okay, you guys beat the Chargers, you guys beat the Raiders, and who else?
The Chargers, the Raiders.
Or
What
did
was
you
the
play?
other game?
Was it the Raiders? I don't know.
Yeah, well, no, it was the Raiders for one of wait, right.
No,
No, it wasn't.
it was the Falcons week 1, and
Falcons-
then it was the Chargers, and then it was
yeah.
Falcons, Broncos, Chargers.
Oh my
Broncos,
god,
right,
my
yeah.
brain is not working. Yeah,
Falcons, Broncos, Chargers.
So beat the Falcons with no offensive touchdown, beat the Broncos with I think one touchdown, and then beat
it's
the Steelers.
Steelers football. It just works. It doesn't have to look pretty. It
The
just
Steelers
works.
have scored 20 points or less in every win they've had so far. So, very impressive defense. Extremely impressive defense.
Y'all have to remember, when nobody plays in the preseason, we need 3 weeks of preseason. So we're preseason's really over now. Now we can start playing some football. Hopefully.
Before we move on, one more stat to throw out about the Vikings that I saw earlier. Did you know that when the Vikings win the turnover battle, Kevin O'Connell is 20-0?
Wow.
So as long as the Vikings' biggest problem in the last like 3 years has been like fumbling, and just they fumble so much in bad situations. And now that the defense is forcing turnovers, if they are neutral or win the turnover battle, they are 20-0. So
Yeah, no, Kevin O'Connell is the least talked about elite head coach in the NFL. He's unbelievable.
yeah, I really liked him in watching quarterback, seeing all the stuff with him there too, and receiver actually. Funny enough.
Let's skip down a question just because we just started talking about this anyway. Which 3-0 start is more legit, Seattle or Pittsburgh? Jesse.
Between these two, I would actually give it to Pittsburgh. Like both of these teams have faced 3 pretty weak opponents. I mean, the Seahawks played the Dolphins yesterday, and the Dolphins looked worse than the Panthers did. And I mean, the Seahawks barely scraped by the Patriots, who looked awful this past week against the Jets. And then the Broncos also kind of barely scraped by. So, I mean, a couple common opponents here, but overall, I would say that Pittsburgh to me does look more legit. The defense is very, very good. And Justin Fields is not playing amazingly, but he is winning the games, and he's doing enough to win. And credit to Justin Fields, because he's showing that he can play winning football. And actually, it's funny, his play style really aligns with the Steelers and with Mike Tomlin of not throwing the ball 40, 50 times a game, running the ball, playing good defense, taking care of the football. They don't need to score 3 touchdowns to win. If they can do it with 1 or they can do it with 0, they'll do it, as they've shown this season. So I actually do think the Steelers have a better recipe for winning than the Seahawks do. They had a shaky win against the Broncos, beat the Patriots off of a few mistakes and missed kicks from the Patriots, and then never really even had to worry about as soon as the Seahawks got past the 7-point mark yesterday, they didn't even need to worry about the game because they knew that Miami wasn't getting in the end zone. So I would give it to Pittsburgh.
All right, Zach.
Even though I just trashed on them 5 seconds before that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Zach, I know how Jack's going to answer. So Zach, you're next.
I'm also giving it to Pittsburgh. Like I mentioned earlier, Seattle, they just won against a deflated Dolphins team who I think is reeling off of the injury of Tua. They're still figuring out that game plan with Skylar Thompson. I'm surprised that they haven't been able to bring in a veteran quarterback yet to at least help out that quarterback room. But Skylar Thompson only threw for just over 100 yards yesterday. This is clearly a team still figuring out their identity post Tua. So I am not impressed by Seattle's other wins at all. They beat, again, the Patriots, the Broncos by a combined 9 points. These are not great football teams they beat. They are the Patriots and the Broncos. They are bottom half teams, and that might be being nice. So I think the Steelers, yes, they win ugly. They win very, very ugly. But that defense is extremely dominant. We're seeing absolute defensive clinics from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I can't say the same thing about Seattle with their games right now. I mean, yes, they held the Dolphins to 3 points, but I'm not counting that against the Dolphins right now. The Dolphins are reeling. They don't have a quarterback. Like, their game
So
plan
how long is it before Ryan Tannehill gets signed? Because he's obviously the only.
I know. Well,
guy who's still a
I'm
free
just
agent.
surprised. I'm just surprised that they haven't brought in anyone to replace Tua in the short term, or signed like the practice squad or just something. They haven't made any move, the Dolphins. So I'm baffled by it. Maybe they have faith that Tua comes back, but with every passing week, it becomes more and more like, all right, let's get someone to fill this role for right now. All right, like, what are we going to do? Dolphins haven't done anything
They
yet.
did sign former Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley to their practice squad, I will say.
Okay, they signed Tyler Huntley.
He's actually not bad.
That's actually not bad.
He's not good.
Why?
But he's not horrible.
Tyler Huntley is probably the best quarterback that they have right now since Tua is out. I don't know why Tyler Huntley. I mean, I guess maybe he needs time to learn the playbook, but I want Tyler Huntley.
The question
in the
is
game
Seattle or Pittsburgh. Why are we talking about Miami?
Because I don't count.
How did we get there?
I don't know how
Because Seattle beat Miami, but I don't think that should matter because Miami kind of sucks right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, Pittsburgh easily.
All right, better franchise, Seattle or the Houston Oilers? Go.
Yeah, exactly.
Random.
Oilers.
Definitely
Those
Oilers.
jerseys.
Oh man.
The Alouettes.
Yeah, I'll keep this answer short because you know how I lean on this, but the way that the Steelers win football games just works, and it's worked for years. There's a reason that they've never had a losing season. There's a reason that we'll look at this team sneak into the playoffs as the 7th seed after winning 10 games. We're like, how did this team make the playoffs? It's because they win the same way every time. They play good defense. They play okay enough offense to get the job done. And it's a recipe that works when you have TJ Watt on the defensive side of the ball, absolutely shutting down whatever's going on the other side. So it's boring. It maybe. Is it gross to look at? Maybe. But it wins. And if you're getting wins, you are by definition legit. So yes, the Steelers are more legit.
The Steelers, to me, remind me of how people play Madden franchise, where they draft all defense and all O-line, and then a few weapons and take a quarterback like super late and just go all in on defense and like running the ball and, you know, using these sneaky receivers with 97 speed, aka Calvin Austin and like a Quez Watkins, like those guys. Exactly. And that's just exactly how the Steelers play. And they play it like a game of Madden too. They chew the clock, they play defense, and they need maybe 2 possessions to score in an entire game.
Yeah, it's not beautiful football, but it works, and it can be fun.
It kind of is, though. It kind of is beautiful. Like it's kind of like peak football. Like it's
you have to really appreciate the sport of football at its core to appreciate the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people who like the Steelers like when a game is 13-3. Like they love that.
Oh, I love those games. I wish we had more defenses that could compete like that. I think it's a blast. All right. Let's talk a little fantasy football, then we'll get to some games. In fantasy, is Malik Neighbors better than? And we're going to start with Drake London. And we'll go Jack, Zach, Jesse.
Easily, yes. His target share is ridiculous right now in New York. So absolutely, yes.
Can't believe that we're having this conversation despite Daniel Jones throwing him the ball. But Malik Neighbors is a better option than Drake London right now.
Malik Neighbors will get to 1,000 yards before Drake London will. So, yeah.
Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, Neighbors is the guy. And it's hard to take someone that is the central focus of an offense and not pick him over a guy like Diggs, who really isn't right now.
Diggs has looked solid. I like what I'm seeing so far, but it's not matching Malik Neighbors' production as the clear favorite target of Daniel Jones right now.
Yeah, no matter how good Diggs is, the target share for Neighbors is like 28 or 30% or something ridiculous, and Diggs is just not going to match that.
Devontae Smith.
I actually really like Devontae Smith right now while AJ Brown is out. I love him as a number 1 option, but as soon as AJ comes back, I think it goes back to being easily Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, Eagles have definitely had a next man up type of mentality when it comes to their target share. AJ Brown's down, Devontae Smith comes number 1, Devontae Smith goes down, Dallas Goedert becomes number 1, which is really nice to see. But when AJ Brown's back, He's getting the bulk of the targets in terms of the wide receiver room. So I have to say Malik Neighbors is the better fantasy option.
Even right now with AJ Brown out, I would take Neighbors. I mean, Devontae Smith had an okay game yesterday. He got hurt, which sucked. But even still, I don't see a game where Devontae Smith has a game like Malik Neighbors just did yesterday. So I would definitely go Neighbors.
Devontae Smith's injury, though, changed that game because the play after that is when Saquon took it 70 yards, and then it was all over for the Saints. DJ Moore.
This is easily Neighbors, not even close.
Yeah, definitely Malik Neighbors. Doesn't help that Caleb Williams getting battered every other play.
Yeah, honestly, I can't believe I'm saying that the Giants' offense looks better than the Bears, but it does. So I would go Neighbors.
Oh, I had the Cleveland defense yesterday in 2 matchups, and I was like, chalk, that's at least 12 or 13 points.
I thought I was getting 15 or more with Cleveland.
Yeah, it was
I got my first strike in our Survivor by picking Cleveland. So
yeah. All right.
Right.
DK Metcalf.
I'm actually going to pick DK here. I love the way that he's looked through 2 weeks, or through 3 weeks, but especially the last 2. The way that Gino's been feeding him and the way they've been using him as a true downfield threat, he looks borderline elite to start this season. So I think I'd roll with DK for now.
Look, DK looks borderline elite in fantasy, but Malik Neighbors' target share has made him an elite option in fantasy. I mean, the guy has 28 points in consecutive weeks, these last 2 weeks. That is an elite fantasy option. As of right now, I think it has to be Malik Neighbors.
So Neighbors is 3rd in yards right now, and Metcalf is 4th. They're right next to each other. I would go Metcalf on this one. It's a little early to say Neighbors over him. And also Gino is currently leading the league in yards. So I think that they're going to continue to air it out. And DK has looked really, really good the last 2 weeks.
No, he's been awesome. He's been really special. Chris Godwin.
I also have to go Godwin here. He has been unbelievable to start this season. Clearly looking like Baker's favorite target to start the season. I love the way that they've been using him this year. They've made an emphasis on getting him the football. And this offense, sure, they had a really down week last week. Godwin still produced in their offense's down week. I think you got to go Godwin the way he's played.
Yeah, I'm going with Godwin too, and I'm mostly banking on what I perceive to be his eventual consistency in fantasy. I feel like Malik Neighbors is off to a great start. He will get a lot of targets, but I have a lot more faith in Chris Godwin carrying what he's doing now through the rest of the season. So I'm giving it to Chris Godwin.
I'm going Godwin too. He's currently the wide receiver 1 in fantasy. That might have changed after Jawan Jennings' game yesterday. But yeah, I mean, he's scored in all 3 games so far. And I actually think that he is matchup proof, because even in a game like yesterday where Patrick Surtain has taken away the best option in Mike Evans, they're still getting Chris Godwin the football because he plays out of the slot more. I don't think that whenever there's a really great lockup corner on the other team, that's not affecting him. When Malik Neighbors has to go against Pat Surtain or Sauce or any of those guys, I think it will. So I'm going to go with Godwin.
All right, Mike Evans.
Yeah, no, this one's Malik Neighbors. Evans is way too inconsistent in fantasy.
Yeah, unfortunately, it seems like Chris Godwin is getting the bulk of the targets. He's getting the bulk of the receptions. And also, it doesn't help that Mike Evans is still the perceived wide receiver 1, which means he gets the tougher matchup. So I'm going to go with Malik Neighbors.
I can't do it. I'm still going with Mike Evans. I know that he's inconsistent, but I mean, what did Malik Neighbors do in week 1? Didn't really do much. So this is a Hall of Fame 1,000 yards every season for the last 11 seasons. Mike Evans we're talking about, who had a huge game like the week before that. So I'm still rolling with Mike Evans.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if he can get to 1,000 this year. He's got 61, 42, and 17 yards the first 3 weeks. Got Philadelphia next week, and then Atlanta, New Orleans. Those are some defenses that he'll have to face. We'll see if he can get there. Marvin Harrison Jr.
I hate this because everyone knows how much I love Marvin Harrison. But I think right now you have to say it's Malik Neighbors. Harrison has had the big plays. He's made the plays downfield. I thought he actually yesterday might have been his best game from a consistency standpoint. But I just think that the target share that Neighbors is getting right now, there's no world where Harrison can even get that much if he plays at his absolute peak. And as talented as I think he is, I think the way that the Giants are feeding Neighbors, you have to pick him.
I mean, it's not for a lack of trying, though. I mean, yes, in the last 2 weeks, Marvin Harrison Jr., 4 receptions on 8 targets, 5 receptions on 11 targets. They're trying to get him the ball. They're trying to give him a high volume of passes. And I think once the ball is completed to Marvin Harrison Jr. a lot more often, once they build up that chemistry, I think this is clearly Marvin Harrison Jr., and I think his fantasy value is only going to climb throughout the season.
So, yeah, Marvin Harrison has 22 targets through 3 games. Malik Neighbors is 37, which is
Jesus
unreal. I would actually go with Marvin Harrison on this one, though. And I'll say because I hated to see it, but Trey McBride did get hurt at the end of last week's game. Trey McBride has a 28% target share on that offense. So he's actually the most targeted player. So if he's out, you can bet that Marvin Harrison is going to get a lot of looks. And overall, I'm going with the better player. He was drafted above him for a reason.
All right, Chris Olave.
This is Neighbors for me. Olave had a great game this past week, but he just has not, aside from this past week against the Eagles, his first 2 weeks were not that impressive to me. And those were 2 weeks that the Saints offense was out of this world. So if you're telling me that offense is going to fire on all cylinders, look at its absolute best, and you're still not getting the production that you want out of Chris Olave, that's a sign you should go in another direction. I'll take Neighbors.
Yeah, I'm going Neighbors as well. Surprised that he finally had his first really good game this week. Getting 6 receptions, 86 yards, and a touchdown. Very solid performance. I don't think it's that sustainable. I feel like it's going to be kind of receiver of the week with the Saints. Whether it's Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave, or someone else that I just don't know about who's buried on the Saints depth chart. So I think just for the consistent target share, I'm going to go with Malik Neighbors.
You referring to Cedric Wilson?
Probably. I don't know.
Actually, he's referring to A.T. Perry.
Yeah,
More likely.
He hasn't seen the field yet.
This one is easily Neighbors for me. I have never in the last 3 years wanted anything to do with Chris Olave in fantasy football, and I still don't. So I'll take Neighbors.
All right, last one. You get 10 seconds each. Devontae Adams.
Right now, Neighbors. The Raiders quarterback situation is too gross.
Agreed. Going with Neighbors here.
Neighbors because he's not going to demand a trade in 3 weeks.
Right. All right. Going to our college football correspondent, Zach. You have 45 seconds to tell us everything you can about the new Pac-12.
Yes, the Pac-12 is looking to expand as usual. Gonzaga has been rumored to be in talks with the Pac-12, although they do not have a football team. They would make that conference a lot stronger in basketball. Would renew the series with San Diego State University, who apparently they have some good history. So look for them to potentially join the Pac-12. It was falsely reported that they already did. They have not. In addition, Memphis, Tulane, USF, and UTSA, in partnership with the American Athletic Conference, put out a statement saying that they have all declined invitations to the Pac-12. What this means for the Pac-12 is that they are now looking to more closer geographic schools. So look for UNLV, Utah State to emerge as the top targets for them. Air Force has also said that they will be remaining in the Mountain West, so cross them off of the potential Pac-12 expansion. Pac-12 needs 10 teams to be officially recognized, I believe, as a football conference. They are currently at 6. So a lot of work still to be done for the new look Pac-12.
Yeah, although
Tulane. Go ahead.
I will say I kind of like the idea for them of shifting towards a basketball focus, though. Like I understand that for money reasons, they need to be recognized as a football conference, and they're going to need the schools to do that. But I think the idea of focusing on getting a school like Gonzaga to add to when they just got San Diego State to join the conference, who was in the national championship 2 years ago in basketball. I think at this point, it's unlikely they're going to be able to attract the kind of college football schools that are going to make this a power conference once again. But you can make this a power basketball conference. And there is a world where they can target group of 5 football teams that will make this a power basketball conference. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good idea to sort of revitalize the Pac-12 and give them a way to actually be a real threat as far as being a competitive conference.
That reminds me a lot of how the Big 12 expanded a couple of years ago. Yes, they had some decent football teams, but you had a team like Houston to your conference. Houston, arguably one of the most dominant basketball programs in the last half decade. They're going to continue that dominance now in a Power 4 conference. And like you said, Jack, I think we're heading towards a group of 6. I think the Pac-12 is not going to be able to get members strong enough to be recognized as a Power 5 conference. They're going to be a group of 6 conference.
Yeah, they have already the people they signed aren't.
Yeah.
They're in the Mountain West. I mean, it's
and
the definition
and
of
also,
a group of 6.
And also, in case you care even remotely about money, if Gonzaga did join, I would say they will most likely get a full conference payout. Not just, it wouldn't be reduced because they wouldn't have a football team. So, yeah.
Although I will say 3 of the 4 Mountain West teams that they brought in were NCAA tournament teams last year. So they have an eye on college basketball for sure.
Because nobody in football wants them. Tulane said, no, I'll stay in the American Athletic Conference. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Holy moly. All right. Jesse, you going to run some NFL connections?
Yes. So, let me share this real quick. We got another connections we're going to cook up. Can I make this larger? There you
What
go.
is Mason Rudolph doing here?
Yeah,
love
good
it.
question. That looks
Good
pretty
question.
All right, so let's play NFL Connections Quarterbacks Edition. Start us off. Where are we going to go?
All right. What do
This
we
is
got?
disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray, Matt Stafford, number 1 overall picks. I'm just like thinking out loud.
And Burrow and Lawrence.
Okay, there you go. I didn't even.
Yeah, that's
get
4 number
through.
1 picks.
Not what we're looking for. Just like the other day, it was not what we were looking for either.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, Jared Stidham, Drew Lock, Bo Nix, all Broncos legends.
Oh,
That's awesome.
bang. Well, the category didn't say it, but bang, that is former or current Broncos quarterback.
Broncos
Broncos
legends. That's the category. Broncos legends.
Yeah.
Good
That's
work.
hilarious.
That was one of the easier ones to sniff out.
Yeah. Let's see here. Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold has to be something to do with this year, right?
Maybe.
Do we have the passing leaders, maybe? But Geno Smith isn't on here. He has the most passing yards, right?
I mean, yeah. No, I mean, before this week it was Purdy and Minshew. I'm not sure who it is now, but that's irrelevant. Could it be like? No, I don't think there's. I was gonna say college national champions, but I only see 2. Let's see. Someone like quarterback rushing yards with Lamar and Kyler, maybe. I don't think so.
And Josh Allen.
Oh, yeah, Josh Allen, but I don't know who the other. None of the rest of those guys are.
Andy Dalton obviously is the next.
Yeah, and Mason Rudolph clearly. What is he doing here?
Where did he go to school?
Oklahoma State.
Okay.
This is like
He went to
Big
Oklahoma
12,
State.
like,
Kyler went to Oklahoma. Nothing. Then it dies.
There's-
I mean, Andy
there's
Dalton
three-
at TCU. That's another Big 12.
There's 3 Heisman
Uh,
winners. We have Jackson, Murray, and Burrow are all Heisman winners, but I don't know if there's
Yeah, I know. Stafford didn't win one, did he?
No.
I don't think Stafford did.
I know Rodgers didn't. Lawrence
did.
Lawrence
yeah,
was a
national
runner-up.
Yeah,
was a
no,
runner-up.
Lawrence was a national champion, but not a Heisman.
Who won the Heisman then?
I think that was the year Devonta Smith won it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah.
did Sam Darnold or Mason Rudolph win the Heisman?
Certainly
I
not.
Don't think so.
Certainly not.
Stafford would be the closest of those,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but he didn't win it.
That is
One
one
away.
away from a category.
From God
You know what?
knows.
Put Trevor with those same 3. Put Trevor with the same 3. Because Trevor was really good in college. No. Okay, we're close.
Still
We
one
know which
away.
one away we are too.
Yeah.
I
So we
mean,
know
Oh no, we already did. I'm so
Burrow, Jackson, Murray.
And then someone.
I'm looking at Allen and Herbert, and Stafford. No, we did Stafford. Herbert and Allen, as far as I don't know, being a top quarterback the last couple of years. That's a terrible category.
Rookie of the year: Herbert, Burrow, Kyler.
Oh, offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, Herbert, Burrow, Kyler.
Lamar.
Was he? No, he wasn't.
I don't know, but
Lamar
we
only
have
started, like,
Burrow,
really
Lamar,
long.
and Kyler are together.
Just put Lamar. Just put Lamar on. Let's try it. No.
Yeah, Burrow, Lamar, and Kyler are the
Yeah,
staff.
they're
It's
the
a
three.
question of who the
Put
fourth
Josh
is.
Allen, since we mentioned him earlier. Why not just guess Josh Allen?
I just don't know what that would be.
No, that would have been cool. Rodgers. I feel like we should just guess every single player.
Well, now
There's
that we know
also
the
two other
three,
categories on here still. So.
I mean, what is?
Yeah.
what is
Okay,
Burrow,
we'll
Lamar,
get
and
to
Kyler?
those. We'll get to those.
Like, what do Burrow, Lamar, and Kyler have in common?
question.
Other than they all won a Heisman.
Not everything is performance related.
9, 8, 7. Is anybody 6 or?
Oh. Are you
That
talking,
would be
are you talking about
stupid, right?
jersey numbers?
Yes.
That would be
yes.
cool.
I mean, Stafford is 9. Burrow is 9.
Jackson is 8. Murray is 1. Oh, I messed that up. Again.
No.
I don't think numbers are a factor.
Yeah, no.
Oh, they're all single digits. No.
So what is
others.
Mason Rudolph doing here? Like, I can't get that out of my head.
What do you know about Mason Rudolph?
That he sucks.
Who's he play for this year?
He's on the
Tennessee?
Titans. Yeah.
Yeah. Backup. He's a backup. Andy Dalton was a backup.
Players that have been backup. I mean, Sam Darnold bounced around.
I meant this year, but
Oh,
yeah.
I
So
mean-
Sam Darnold, Andy Dalton, Mason Rudolph. Everybody else is a starter?
I mean, Lamar spent his first year as a backup. Rodgers sat for a few years. I mean,
Yeah.
Kirk sat at first.
Do you need a hint?
Maybe or like the non-first round picks, but no, I think there's only 3 that are not first round picks, which would be Rudolph, Dalton, and Kirk. But I don't think there's a 4th. Yeah, I have no idea.
All right. One of our categories has to do with a physical attribute of the player.
Left-handed, right-handed, short.
It has to be height.
So that's Murray.
But
Maybe here's Mason Rudolph.
Maybe,
Unless you're going to go tall and go Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert.
and like Stafford, maybe
Yeah.
What was the third one?
Herbert,
Herbert,
and
Stafford.
Ooh.
One away.
Sam Darnold. How tall is he?
I don't think he's that big. Is Mason Rudolph tall?
It might be Mason Rudolph. Let's try.
Shouldn't you know? Wasn't he a Steeler?
Yeah, but he was so bad. I didn't want to look at it.
Let's try Mason, Justin, Josh, Stafford.
Oh my god.
Okay. That means it's probably Justin, Josh, and Stafford in a category.
Oh, Offie just gave one away. He's right about the draft class. It's Darnold, Josh Allen, and Lamar are the same draft class. There's got to be one more. Is it?
And
Rudolph?
so
No. We already established that it's Burrow, Lamar, and Kyler for one category.
Yeah.
And Herbert, Allen, and Stafford for another. I want to try that entire bottom row, just knock it out. Oh, that's not one.
I really
away.
think the draft class idea is right.
That wasn't
I'm
one
just
away.
so glad when you said Offie gave it away that Offie didn't give it away.
No,
Yeah.
I think it's
Offie, I will say he's not right, but he is on to something.
Well, no, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow is not right, but I think
They were not in the same
Darnold,
class.
Lamar, Allen, and I think Rudolph.
Okay.
Darnold, Lamar, Allen, and what?
I think Mason Rudolph would be the same. No,
You guys had 2 1-aways, and then you didn't have a
I
one
know.
away.
It was Herbert, Allen, Stafford, and Lawrence. That was a one away.
Yes, this was a one away.
And then we also had Burrow, Lamar, and Kyler as a one away.
Yeah.
We didn't try Big Kirko with either of those. Let's try Burrow, Lamar, Kyler, Kirko. Why
You
not?
guys are losing the plot.
No.
You did a group that was one away, and then another group that was one away, and then assumed that it was three guys that it's not. So you just take the other two groups and put it together.
Oh my God! Wait.
You just assumed that 1, 2, 3 were in a group, and it was anyone plus that, but that was not a one away.
No,
Therefore, that's not the 3.
no.
Yeah. So it would have to be like what, Lawrence, Herbert, Allen, or Lawrence.
It's got to be something like that.
Oh my God, this is killing me. I really am so lost.
You had it. You were on the right track right there.
Lawrence. I mean, yeah, I mean, we had the one away. I just don't know what else it would be, or like what the actual connection is. It's got to be like.
You're right on it.
What do you mean right on it? What? Oh.
Did we just lose them?
Did he hang up? Like, what did he do?
I don't know. I think he might have rage quit on us.
Yeah.
My Wi-Fi just went for 1 second, but it came
Nice.
right back.
Rage quit on us.
I am about to rage quit on y'all.
That would be preferable.
All right, you had 1, 2, 3, 4 was the one away, and then you had 1, 2, a different one away. Put it together.
That was Kyler, Lamar, and Burrow. That was the other one away.
No, not including that. You had with a group of
Oh.
these players, there was one of them that was one away, and then another one that was one away. You did like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you did 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you assumed that it was these guys.
Oh my God. So, what? Rudolph, Herbert, Allen, and Stafford? Like,
Darnold.
Rudolph, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is also one away.
Offie
who's
says
the not?
Lawrence, Herbert, Allen, Darnold.
Lawrence, Herbert, Allen, Darnold.
That is also a one away.
Oh my God. This
So
is
you know which three
Lawrence-
players are in the group.
So Lawrence, Herbert, Allen, and who?
Rudolph.
Yes.
Try Rudolph.
No,
There we go.
we did that, didn't
No,
we?
we tried.
Oh,
No.
Dang,
God.
you skipped Mason Rudolph 3 times in a row. They're
He's so
all
tall.
6'5".
I didn't know. I don't actually think
Oh,
I
dear
ever
God.
realized how tall he is. That's
This is
wild.
like when you guys had to watch me, Offie, Spencer rearrange the items on that.
Oh yeah, I
TikTok.
saw that. That
And you
was a
kept
hard watch.
rearranging it the
That
wrong
was a hard
way.
watch. I watched that.
That was painful.
Try. God. Well, you know it's
We
Burrow,
still
Lamar,
have-
and Tyler.
Yeah,
Burrow, Lamar,
Offie
and
was not
Tyler
involved
are
in that. My
three.
bad.
Are three. We haven't tried it with Rodgers or Kirk or Andy. So let's just try it with Andy. Let's do it with Andy because it'd be funny.
What, the 1, 2,
Tyler,
3?
Lamar, Joe, and Andy. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, no, never mind.
One of these is actually pretty surprising, I will say.
Okay.
Is it just like played in the NFC North with like Rodgers, Kirk, Stafford, and Darnold?
No.
Wait,
You guys have
ooh.
set the record.
Oh
of
wait, we're
one
close. We're close. Rodgers, Kirk, Stafford, Dalton.
Old heads.
Dang, over
Oh.
36.
What is
No.
Sam Darnold doing?
I
amongst
literally
these
just right
quarterbacks?
before it came up, like it's just that they're old.
What is he doing?
Just old head. What do these 4 have in common, you might ask?
They were all good in college.
Yes.
Darnold was there. I mean, Heisman finalist. Was Darnold a Heisman finalist?
I don't know if he was a finalist.
No,
but this would be
I mean-
interesting.
And what may shock you, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, and Sam Darnold are all the same age.
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
Kyler's that old?
And Darnold's that young.
Yeah, that's wild.
I didn't know. I'm actually not surprised about Darnold. I'm shocked that Kyler's that old. I thought Kyler was younger.
Yeah.
I thought Kyler was younger. I
That's
knew
just-
They're all from different classes.
Yeah.
Well, Lamar and Kyler are the same one, Lamar and Baker are the same one. So yeah, they're all from different classes, yet they're all 27.
Yeah.
Remember, Jack, Kyler Murray won his Heisman in 2018. It's been 6
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, that's crazy. I did
In
not
6
realize
years.
Kyler was that old.
Well, that
In
one took
6
a
years.
while.
I love when Zach says, "Remember, Jack,
Yeah,
let
right.
me condescend to you."
Yeah,
You-
of course.
Well, that was excruciating, but we have one thing left for today. We're going to do a draft of some of our favorite moments in LT sports history. So let's do a draft off of our favorite moments in Lost Tribe sports history. And I have the first pick. I don't think that there's any consensus number one. Man, it's tough. With the number one pick, I will say, oh my God, there's so many. Wow. There's lots of options. I could go throwback. I could go recent. I don't want to take like a whole trip in one thing. I'll say, oh my God, it's too hard. It's too hard. I don't know where to go here. I'm flustered.
There's no way for us to score this.
Okay, I'll say when I got to interview. All right, with the first pick, I will say when we interviewed Jesser at the NBA Summer League, he was my favorite YouTuber as a kid growing up, and getting to interview him in an NBA 2K trivia thing was awesome. After watching his NBA 2K videos for years, that video also did really well, and it was just really cool and a very out of my comfort spot moment. So that was a good one.
Yeah, the Jesser interview was in my list, even though I didn't even do the interview. That was a cool moment. With my first pick, I actually know exactly where I'm going. 2 words: Ish Smith. just Ish Smith. I did the grid with Jack. That was what I was thinking of first of all. But Ish Smith has been a great meme for our stuff for the past couple of years. But Ish Smith, with the Ish Smith grid especially, where every single option was Ish Smith, over 2 million views on that, which is kind of crazy to think about. That's on TikTok, 2 million
And
views.
the Nuggets official TikTok account commenting on that post.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was when he was a Nugget. God knows, what team he's on at this point. I think he's done. I think he's out of the league. But Ish Smith holds a very special place in my heart with Lost Tribe.
Yeah.
I think they call that friend of the program, Ish Smith.
Yes,
Yeah, exactly.
friend of the tribe, honorary tribe member, Ish Smith.
All right, so I'm going to go a little boring with my first pick, but also a friend of the tribe, and it's Bruce Pearl. It was the coolest interview to interview somebody who is currently a head coach of a D1 basketball program. But secondarily, the dude is just awesome, loves Israel more than anybody you know, and was just a great Jewish role model for us to be able to talk to. So, Bruce Pearl.
Very nice. All right, back-to-back picks for me here. I think my first pick is going to be, to me, the funniest moment that has ever happened on this show. Our weekly Pass the Rock episodes. And Brian, I don't even remember what the draft was, but there was back-to-back picks that Brian had, and he selected Zach Wilson for reasons unspeakable and Deshaun Watson for reasons unspeakable.
It was a tier list.
It was a quarterback tier list.
Oh
That
my God.
was the greatest, the greatest moment. I don't think I've ever laughed harder on this show than that moment. So I think that had to be recognized.
That was actually in that was like a Sadakathon, like a streaming program.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was on my list. I didn't think anybody would take it. I
Oh.
saved it for round 2 and I didn't get it.
No, that I've never laughed harder on this show than that moment. That was the greatest thing ever. And that also turned into a clip that did really well.
Yeah.
That video I think was one of our most viewed videos on YouTube for a while. It was one of the only things that was on it, and it was
So good. So good.
Cool.
And then I would say my second pick, even though this was not an interview that I did, I think this was the coolest moment for me, which was when we got to interview Kenny and the Through the Wire guys. That was to me that Kenny is a YouTuber that I've always really looked up to, a guy I think is super smart, incredibly knowledgeable about the game of basketball. And I thought just that entire moment, getting to meet him, getting to interview those guys, and getting to put that clip on our page was just one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of.
Nice,
I was going to go there next, sadly.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I'm going to get a little sentimental and go back to our first ever Hanukkah stream where Pass the Rock, which was not called Pass the Rock back then, it was the fantasy football show. We were tasked with doing an 1.5-hour stream. And I remember being scared out of my wits. How are we ever going to talk for an 1.5 hours? Now we do shows every week for an 1.5 hours. So, or close. So it's not a big deal, but it was a big growing pains moment. I know it's not super interesting like these YouTubers I've never heard of, but, or Zach Wilson's preference in dating, but it was a cool moment. And I remember getting through that and being like, oh, we can do anything now. I mean, an 1.5 hours felt like nothing. So big moment. Hanukkah, year 1.
Very nice.
With my next pick, God, this interview, I don't think about it enough. How great this interview was. It's got to be Big Dom. The Big Dom interview, that kid knew so much ball. Was genuinely a very impressive interview for a kid that young. And for those of you who have not seen the Big Dom clip, he's basically just the Rizzler. I mean, it's basically what he looks like.
He literally is.
He's literally just the Rizzler from the AJ Big Justice crew. That's literally who he is. But really cool kid, really knowledgeable. One of my favorite interviews I've ever done with you guys. Dom had to be drafted at some point, and I'm going to take him in the second round.
That's good. That's good. Dom's a legend.
Sure.
All right, then with my next two, this is tough. I'll say, okay, with my next one, I'll going to the NBA Summer League and attending NBA Con. The NBA convention last year was so fun. Getting to see the reveal of the in-season tournament review was cool. All the activities, all the NBA players we got to see was really cool. But also NBA Summer League was the first time that our whole team was ever together in person in Las Vegas in 45 degrees or 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Getting the whole team together, realizing that Jack was not 5'6". The whole thing was a lot of fun.
Wemby versus Scoot too.
Wemby,
yeah,
Wemby
actually true. Yeah, also seeing Wemby's debut in which he looked like a total bust was fun. Then the next moment I'll say has to be attending the NFL draft this year. That was a super awesome moment. Nothing I ever thought I would do in my life would be attend the NFL draft. And I got to see Drake May get picked live, which I at the time hated. Now not so much. We'll see how that pans out, but it was a really cool experience. Never been to a fan event like that before for the NFL or really any other sport. So yeah, that was really cool.
The Chiefs interview was the first one we did.
That guy was awesome.
I'm not gonna lie, that's low on my list, but it's on my list. That Chiefs interview. With my I was considering for the NFL draft, I was considering just the Michael Penix pick. Like I was considering that because I think we had a great reaction to that. But with my next pick, I had to pick this at some point. Interviewing Peyton Watson, NBA. Yes, he's on the bench, but NBA player Peyton Watson,
NBA champion.
NBA champion. Sorry, being able to interview an NBA champion while at Summer League last year was a really cool moment. Just kind of, had to really put myself out of my comfort zone. Went up to their staff and was like, hey, can I interview him for like 5 minutes? Also had to adapt on the fly because that man does not know anything about Nuggets history. And I asked him a Nuggets question. So thankfully, I think, Jack, you told me he went to UCLA. I was able to adapt on the fly thanks to you. Really cool moment. Felt like I learned a lot there. And he is a solid guy, but he cannot smile in a photo for anything. He is awful in photos. Legit his smile.
Oh my god.
I'm being nice about that.
All right, I'm going to call my next pick. It's better to be lucky than to be good. So, also from the NFL draft last year in Detroit, we have a marathon day, 16 hours, and then we have to catch an Uber to head back. So we go to the spot where the Uber is going to meet us, which is a hotel. Literally behind us, Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors and Dan Orlovsky as well. Not the worst of those three.
Yeah.
Just happen to be hanging out there, getting ready to go to dinner, do whatever they're going to do, and we're chilling three unknown dudes waiting for an Uber.
That was funny. I forgot about that. And now look at Dan Orlovsky.
Exactly.
Who's the, he had his co-host with him too. Yeah, that was a good one. And also, wasn't there one more person who was? Oh no, never mind. I thought there was one more player who was out front there, but I couldn't remember.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right. Back to back. Although I will say, just a shout out to Jesse's last pick about the first time we all met in person. Jesse claims that he thought I was 5'6". I was under the impression that Jesse was 5'6". So
I do not give short guy Jack does.
Okay, well, I've only seen you before meeting you in person from your shoulders upwards, and I guess from your shoulders upwards, I thought you were like 5'6". And
the wingspan.
I will say, believe it or not, this group is the tallest group of 4 Jews you could possibly put together. Like, I don't know. Like,
well, 3 Jews.
3 Jews. It's pretty.
Close enough.
It's stunning. It's actually stunning. So, I guess shout out to all 4 of us for that. But no, my 2 picks here. It's gonna be the first one has to be probably the second hardest I've ever laughed on a PTR episode, which was our entire Cole Kmet Taylor Swift conversation. that was the greatest thing ever, because it was at the time that Taylor Swift had just started dating Travis Kelce, and that was all the NFL buzz. And just I think it was Brian who just was like, what if she just chose to date like Cole Kmet? Would we really care about that? Like, imagine all the cameras had to go watch the Bears play football. So,
well, it's like what's her name that's supposedly dating Daniel Jones? She used to host the NFL morning show.
Oh, Kay Adams is not dating Daniel Jones.
That's not real?
No, it's not real.
Thank God. I felt bad for her.
Oh my
God. Tyrese Maxey stole Bryce Young's girlfriend recently. And that's apparently
everything's been going wrong for Bryce Young.
Yeah.
Although she's also dated like Shadur Sanders and like one other athlete, so she clearly has a type.
Wow. Yeah. Oh man. All right. And then I get one last pick here. And I'm actually going to take a pick from our most recent Vegas trip a couple months ago. And it was the wavelength video that I did with Jesse, where somehow we were the prompt was asking about like a scale of defenders. And Jesse gives an example of Drew Holiday is a great defender. And then he goes, who's a bad defender? And somehow at the exact same time on the exact same wavelength, we both just go, Trae Young. And it was like at the exact same time.
Truly on the same wavelength for that one.
Yeah, it defined the wavelength game. So I would say that was a pretty elite moment.
Yeah, that was funny. It was like, who's a bad defender? Trae. Oh yeah, Trae Young.
Yeah.
I definitely nobody's really said much about the Indy All-Star game this year, but it was like
cold.
It was. I was about to say it was like 7 degrees. There was snow and slush everywhere. Pretty miserable trip. I'm not picking that. I just wanted to name it. I'm going to pick my interview with Seth Greenberg, because I told Seth Greenberg, I said NIL is really going to change, everything going on with college football and recruiting. And if you're good at it, it's going to help you. And he disagreed with me. He also hated the idea of anything on pizza except for cheese. So the guy does not like pineapple on pizza, Jesse.
And is also a true New Yorker.
Funny. I was just reading the comments on the Cole Kmet post because it was funny, and someone said it would be even funnier if she was dating Matt Canada from last year. Or someone said it would be even better if she was dating like a 6th-string corner on the Bears that like gets no minutes. Like he's just like irrelevant.
All right, with my final pick, it's hard to pick between the two things I have on this list. Both are basically lost media because I know neither of them actually saw the light of day on our page. But I'm going to say just because of how funny it was, I'm going with the first and only Lost Tribe 3-point contest. That was miserable. Jesse won that 3-point contest, making 3 of 10 shots. I hit 1 of 10 shots. And Jack, with probably the worst shooting form you've ever seen, missed the backboard like over half the time. So, I walked out of that feeling like at least I hit the backboard most of the time. Like it was probably one of the funniest things that we recorded and didn't use. Honorable mention to old-timey baseball player or wrestler.
That's what I thought you were going to say when you said something that ended up.
I really considered it. I loved that segment, even though it never saw the light of day. Both of those pieces of lost media, if I could do both of them as the same graphic, just the lost media that we've done that never saw the light of day, that was just really fun. Both of those segments were really fun, but the 3-point contest might be the funnier one. So I'm going with the 3-point contest.
Why did we post old-timey baseball versus wrestling?
We did. We did at some point.
We never did. That's why I'm saying it's lost media.
We posted WWE or old-timey baseball player before. The very first one you didn't make it out for various reasons because it was like an hour-long recording of you going through the names.
Oh my God. It was too long. That one was too long.
The second one absolutely made it out. I will say, I guess I have the last pick. Wow, that's tough. There's a lot. You know what? I'll say with the last pick, the first time we ever hit 1 million views on any video on the sports page, I believe the very first one was me interviewing Raptors fans about the Raptors championship run, and none of them could get it right. And then I think that was the first one on either Instagram or TikTok. And then the next one was our very first grid trivia video was the next one that ever crossed that line. And then we fell into our whole niche of grid videos. And honestly, to this day, I still think that Lost Tribe Sports is at least 30% responsible for the trend nowadays of all the sports grids, of the pro football grid, the hoops grid, all this stuff. I don't think any of those games would have been popping off as much had we not. I mean, we gathered basically like 20 million views on those videos and then made a lot of other people want to play them, and then had websites like the Look Connections and the other ones start creating those games and reaching out to us if we want to play it. But we didn't create the game, but I definitely think that without Lost Tribe, those games would not nearly have taken over as much. So I think we really set the tone with some of that. And can't forget your first milli. We have so many, I know, but can't forget the first one.
How many views did we get on that Diary of a Wimpy Kid thing?
That one got 5 million on Instagram. I was honorable mention would be the Diary of a Wimpy Kid meme that got 5 million on Instagram.
That's the one that people shared with me. Isn't this an awesome video without knowing I worked at Lost Tribe?
Yeah, it was so dumb but so hilarious that it was just perfect.
Yeah.
If we're shouting out honorable mentions, I know it was already mentioned earlier, but the guy screaming Patrick Mahomes into the mic that was a funny interview. Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, special shout out. The Leafs fan saying he would give his left nut for the Leafs to win the championship. And also in that same one, the Leafs fan predicting that they would come back and beat the Lightning. And that was a huge moment. So shout out Offie for getting that video. And to answer the question in the chat, on the sports page, we had 25 individual videos hit over 1 million views. Some of them 2, 3, 4, 5 million views. So 25 of them.
That's awesome.
Eat that for breakfast.
Awesome stuff.
Sweet.
Yep, Spencer, 25. So that's it for the draft. A couple other honorable mentions. I'll say I actually wanted to put this on there was one of our the very first March Madness stream we did when we had a lot of people in the chat voting on the outcomes of it. And I had no clue about anything. And you guys were just making me choose based on the mascot and making me guess what the mascot even was. And I was like,
Colgate
flaming
Hall of Fame.
toothbrushes or whatever. Yeah, like I had no idea. Colgate,
Right,
always
toothpaste.
legend.
Yeah.
And I'll also give a shout out to me riding with the Creighton Blue Jays the entire way.
Yeah.
For the Blue Jays.
I have one more shout out. That another stream that I really remember doing was, this one's actually fairly recent, the MLB The Show stream that we did earlier this year, where
17 hours.
it was like a
like
3-hour stream, and I managed to talk my way through that entire stream, commentating on the game. I know me and Brian did a lot of that, and that was a fun stream. It was a long stream, but it was a fun stream.
It was good.
Saw players play MLB The Show way better than I ever will.
We had two of the best players in the world play a game that finished like 20-19 at the end.
Oh no, and it was close. It was a legitimately close game, despite they scored too many runs. There's a reason it was a 1-point game. Really good game, really fun calling that. Long stream, but a fun stream.
I also want to shout out to the summer of the original Zach and Jack, which was not Zach Zeman, but Zach Shanbaum. Remember that summer, Jack, when we started doing division previews?
Yeah.
And
that was a long time ago. And Jesse was working at camp that summer. It was, you, me, and Zach.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yep.
What a time.
Yeah.
What a time. Well, speaking of long shows, this one's been almost over an hour and a half. So we don't have much else, but it's been a great run, and to many more favorite moments possibly in the future. So, Brian, I guess
I didn't know if you were doing the last.
I don't know. I don't know how to end these type of things, but
it's only right if you mess up.